Hello students, I am Dr. Saliha Jamal from Department of Geography, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. So welcome to today's class as we are dealing with in this series of lecture with the case studies with the extreme events due to the climate change. So today's topic of discussion is climate change and cyclones in India. The case study we today took from the India, particularly the cyclones in India. So let us start our class. Before proceeding, we should understand what is cyclone. In very much simple language, if I would say here, the strong storms are generally called cyclones which forms in warm tropical ocean water. I have said in very simple language you can understand strong storms, and these cyclones are usually known by the different name in different regions. They may be designated as cyclones or even they may be called as typhoons, etc. And these tropical cyclones is one of the broader term we can say, which refers to the collective category of various types of storms, means strong storms which is generally characterized by, if I am saying that strong storms are called cyclones when it is formed in warm tropical ocean water. So these strong storms or cyclones are characterized by certain characteristics such as very much high wind, extremely high wind speeds, very much substantial precipitation, storm surges, temporary elevation may be observed in the sea level, and it even also leads to inundation and significant destruction because of its high speed and heavy rainfall. So it is characterized with the high speed of the winds, substantial precipitation, storm surges, which leads to the certain types of destruction. If we see in India, cyclones primarily occur either in the pre-monsoons or in the post-monsoons, because the situation which favors the creation of the cyclone, that generally occurs during either the pre-monsoons and the post-monsoon. We will come to this picture after having few understanding. If we analyze the formation of the cyclones, how it forms, cyclone generally originates because of the atmospheric disturbances. That may be the tropical waves, means atmospheric disturbances, and where we can assign it to the tropical waves generally characterized by the areas of low pressure, because we are talking about the cyclones, means that is the areas of the low pressure inside. Areas of low pressure which creates a very much conducive environment for the clouds and the thunderstorm formation. Now what happens, it originates due to the atmospheric disturbance that can be attributed to the tropical waves, and it is characterized by the low pressure which gives a very much conducive environment for cloud formation and thunderstorm formation. Wind begins to swirl here because low pressure is inside, high pressure is outside. So wind begins to swirl, circular motion, swirl when warm. Then humid air ascends from the water surface because it originates on the warm tropical oceans. So the humid air that ascends above from the warmer surface. So the mechanism is very much related if we compare it. It is very much related how the winds in the tropical areas just beyond the equator are influenced by the rotation of the earth. So the sea surface, because when I say the strong storms, that may be called as cyclones. So for the intensification of these storms, the sea surface temperature must be high above the normal. Minimum it should be at least 27 degrees Celsius in order to provide, why this high temperature, that will provide energy to the cyclone for its formation and in order to sustain That energy is generally provided by the high temperature of the ocean water. The wind patterns is also needed to remain relatively consistent in altitude. Now, you can see here how the swirling of the winds are taking place. The winds generally swirl and the warm air, the warm moist air is ascending from the oceans. And here what this type of atmospheric circulation which can be attributed to the certain tropical waves, it provides a conducive environment for the thunderstorms and for the heavy precipitation. So, these things generally cause the tropical cyclones. This is the vertical section of the tropical cyclones. You can see here how the warm winds ascends and outflows here, and swirling of winds takes place. You can easily see here. Now, as we have taken the case study from the India, first we will see what are the cyclone prone regions of India, because we are talking about when oceans. So, the cyclone prone areas, that is related with the oceans, the coastal areas. So, we have the east coast in India and the west coast in India, which is prone to the cyclones. If we talk about east coast of India, these coast experiences more number of cyclones, more severe and intense cyclones. The states like the Orissa, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu are most cyclone prone areas due to the proximity to the Bay of Bengal. Very much simple. So, these areas, they experience more frequent and intense cyclones, severely damaging the infrastructure and the livelihoods. Similarly, if we talk about the west coast, states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, they face fewer number of cyclones as compared to the east coast, but their impact can be significant. The cyclones in the Arabian Sea generally tend to develop less frequently. That's why the western coast, they generally have very much less number of cyclones. As compared to the eastern coast. These are the cyclone prone areas in India. This is of, we can say, eastern coast, you can see here, and this is of parts that is affected by the cyclone in the western coast. Most frequent, more number of cyclones that generally hit on the eastern side as compared to the western side. One more reason here I would like to call, because this is the area of trade winds, and trade winds usually they travel from east to west. They blow from east to west. They blow from east to west, and as we know that cyclones follows the path of the wind, so from east to west, that's why they generally hit the eastern coast of the India. So, one of the reason why the eastern coast of India that is hit by the more number of cyclones. Now, what is the relation between the climate change and the cyclone frequency? Although if we analyze the long-term data of various regions, it is said that tropical cyclone has not increased globally in number. Things to remember here, student, the number of tropical cyclones have not increased if we analyze through the data, but a 2020 report from the IMD, Indian Meteorological Department, highlights that reason shift is towards the more powerful cyclone, not in the number of cyclone, but the shift is observed in the more powerful cyclone that is cited in the 2020 report from the IMD. Similarly, the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that indicates that increased ocean temperature due to the climate change that contribute to the stronger storms, potentially that will alter the future cyclonic patterns, means the future cyclones may be more severe, more strong. As another study, if we find out, that is from the Nature Climate Change, published by the Nature Climate Change, which points, although the number of cyclones may not increase, but their intensity will significantly rise due to the warming of oceans and atmospheric changes because of the climate change. see the number of cyclones occurring in the different Indian coastal states. If you see the number of cyclones from 2006 to 20, you can see here 14, 20, 11, 11. This is the eastern coast. I have already said eastern coast is hit by the cyclone in more number, more frequently as compared to the western coast. Also, I have given the reason. But in western coast, we see this is the region which is mostly affected by the cyclones. So, I have said climate change is very much related with the cyclone. Although the number has not increased, but its intensity and severity has increased. The reason behind is warmer sea surface temperature, because warmer sea surface temperature that intensifies cyclones, that amplifies cyclones, because warmer sea surface temperature will provide more energy to the cyclones, which will lead to the more stronger winds, heavy rainfall causing several destructions. Studies from the different sources points out that with the increase of every 1 degree centigrade in sea surface temperature, the cyclone speed can increase by 3 to 5%. Means, see, the cyclone will increase 3 to 5% with every increase of a single degree of temperature of the sea surface water. So, if we take example here, cyclones like Amphan in 2020, Fani in 2019, they were among the strongest recorded cyclones. Even they exceeded the speed in the some of the regions round about 200 km per hour. Similarly, cyclone Fani that also reached up to the speed of 215 km per hour. Means, due to the climate change, although the number and frequency of cyclone occurrence have not increased, but their intensity and severity have increased. This figure actually shows the long-term sea surface temperature variation over the period from 1880 to 2010 in Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal. So, how the sea surface temperature is fluctuating and it is consistently increasing, it is very much clear from this figure that black line shows the increase in surface temperature of the Arabian Sea, while red line shows the increase in the temperature in the Bay of Bengal. It means it consistently increasing. If the sea surface water temperature increases, it will intensify the cyclones, which will lead to heavier rainfall and extremely high winds causing several disasters. So, even the more rainfall during the cyclones that occurs due to the climate change, because due to climate change, global temperature is rising, and due to this, warmer air holds more moisture that leads to the heavier rainfall during the cyclone events. Even the heavy rainfall in short duration that also causes several flash floods and the landslides in different places. If we take the example of cyclone Amphan that caused 25 centimeter of rain just in 24 hours, which exacerbated the risk of flood in that region. So, it can intensify the rainfall as well as the wind speed. If we see some facts from the IPCC which indicates the medium confidence, that is the human activity that has already heightened the probability of more powerful tropical storms. Similarly, the high confidence which has contributed to the higher precipitation associated with the tropical cyclones. Means the climate change is very much related with the severity and even the more stronger cyclones. If we see and compare from few decades before, that is from 1979, the percentage of category 3 to 5 storms that has risen almost 5% in each decade. Means severity is increased, means category 3 to 5, that is one of the most disastrous category, that severe category, that has increased, which signifies the global increase in the intensity of the cyclones rather than the number of the cyclones. And just I think you must have understood about how the climate change intensifies these cyclones. So, according to the climate forecast also, we will see that the greater percentage of category 4 and 5, that is the more severe category of the tropical cyclones, which is one of the most destructive category cyclones. Here the destructive winds speeds and even the rainfall that intensified additional to the warming in the following decades. Means it has been predicted that the category 4 and 5 storms will intensify more, will amplify more in the coming decades, which will again intensify the rainfall and the wind speed. Storm damage potential will also be influenced by the rainfall, storm size, severity, frequency, trajectory changes, because if the number is not increasing but if the severity is increasing, so it is very much obvious that the storm damage potential will increase. These are the list of the cyclones that hit India from 2019 to 24, just a few years data here you can say. See, just you observe this severity of this cyclone. Almost all the cyclones, these are the recent data, almost all the cyclones are either extremely severe, very severe, very severe, extremely severe, very severe, extremely severe, and severe expected to be severe. Almost all the cyclones are extremely severe, that is attributed to the climate change that is continuing. Now, as per our today's lecture, we have to take here one of the case studies. So, I have taken here the case study of cyclone Amphan of 2020. If just give a quick overview, it occurred on May 16 to 21 in 2020. The category of this cyclone is regarded as super cyclonic storm, which is equivalent to category 5 if we see on Safford-Simpson scale, one of the most we can say severe, extremely severe cyclone. And the regions which were affected by this cyclone were West Bengal, Orissa and the part of the Bangladesh. If we analyze its intensity and characteristics, it is found that it is one of the strongest cyclones ever recorded in Bay of Bengal. Just see here student, it is one of the strongest cyclone ever recorded in the Bay of Bengal, and the wind speed even reached up to 185 km per hour, which is accompanied by heavy rainfall, flooding, storm surges almost as high as 5 meters in the coastal areas. Just this is a satellite animation of the Amphan rapidly intensifying on 17th May, because increase in temperature, increase or we can say rise in the sea surface temperature, that will contribute and even intensify the cyclone, that which will be again accompanied by the more intensified rainfall and extremely high speed of winds. Now, let us see few of its impact, like impacts in Bengal and Orissa. Over 13 million people were affected, and if we see the damage caused was almost it is estimated as $13.5 billion. In Orissa, nearly 5 lakh people were evacuated before the cyclone's landfall. Thanks to the forecasting system, now due to the evacuation, we can save the human life. If we see its connection to the climate change, it was analyzed, the Bay of Bengal recorded higher than average sea surface temperature, that is round about up to 30 degrees centigrade. And this higher temperature that provided more energy for the storm, that can be directly attributed or connected with the global warming trends. Similarly, if we see the rapid intensification, this intensification Amphan intensified rapidly within the 24 hours, which can be again attributed to the warmer ocean temperature due to the climate change. Here you can see the observed track of the cyclone Amphan and its wind speeds at different regions. So here regarding this extreme events due to the climate change, I would like to say, although the climate change is not impacting or not increasing the number, or we can say frequency of occurrence of these cyclones, but due to the climate change, the severity of these cyclones have been increased, and through various data we have analyzed also. Because of climate change, global warming is taking place, temperature is rising, and this rise in temperature, especially of sea surface temperature, that contributes more energy to the storm, which is accompanied by the more heavier rainfall and more intensified high speed winds that causes destruction. So that's all for today's lecture, student. Have a nice day. Thank you.